Ladies and gentlemen, we have lots of breaking news today. Economic data came in worse than expected. Donald Trump is calling on Jerome Powell to immediately start the process of reducing interest rates. Looks unlikely that that's going to happen, but nonetheless, that is in the news today. A lot of news as well on trade negotiations. I will share all of this with you in this video. And let me just be honest, I think markets are going higher throughout the rest of this week, but I think the big day is going to be on Friday when we get the phone call between Trump and the Chinese president, okay? That is when either the China-US trade war is going to get much better or much worse. I think Wall Street's a little nervous heading into that because of what could go wrong. And I think odds are we actually get a lot that goes right. I think we actually get a lot of improvement on both sides because let's be honest, China doesn't want this trade war. And I think at this point, it's getting just dragged out from the US perspective. I think Trump just wants to get some deals done, look good. And same is true with China. Now, also, Tesla stock today is down about 3.5%. And I'm sure you already know why, but if not, I will share the news with you in this video. Now, UK's Prime Minister Starmer says, quote, "I'm very confident we will get US tariffs down in a short time." Now, in big news today, the US ADP employment change came in at 37,000 job ads. The forecast was 113,500. The previous month was 62,000. So we were expecting this number to almost double from last month. It went down like 50% from last month. That is pretty damn bad economic data. Now, in the overall report, it says private businesses in the US added 37,000 workers to their payrolls in May 2025, the lowest since March of 2023, compared to a downwardly revised 60,000 in April and forecast of 115,000. The services sector added 36,000 jobs, led by leisure and hospitality at 38,000, financial activities at 20,000, and information at 8,000, while job losses occurred in professional and business services, down 17,000, education and health down 13,000, and trade, transportation, and utilities down 4,000. Also, the goods producing sector lost 2,000 jobs as falls in natural resources and mining, negative 5,000, and manufacturing, a negative 3,000, offset a rise of 6,000 jobs in construction. Meanwhile, annual pay growth for job stayers was little changed at positive 4.5%, and pay for job changers rose to 7%, unchanged from April's revised figure. Quote, "After a strong start to the year, hiring is losing momentum. Pay growth, however, was little changed in May, holding at robust levels for both job stayers and job changers," said the chief economist at the ADP. They also had ISM services PMIs for May that came in at 49.9. The estimate was 52, and last month was 51.6. So we were actually expecting this number to get better from last month, and it got worse. Quite a bit worse. Actually, anything below 50 is negative, so you actually went negative. Now, business activity came in at 50.0. The expectation was 54. So again, you were expecting all of these metrics to improve a little bit. Yeah, no, business activity plummeted. Services employment actually came in better than expected at 50.7. The expectation was 50. New orders came in at 46.4. The expectation was 52.3, so that was way worse than expected. And prices came in at 68.7. The expectation was 65.7, so that also came in higher than expected, which is bad. So pretty much across the board, bad economic data today. That's just the easiest way to put it. And almost immediately after this economic data came out, Trump went on Truth Social and said, quote, "Too late, Powell must now lower rates." He says that Powell must now lower interest rates. He is unbelievable. China today vows to speed up innovation and applications of AI. The EU economy minister today says that he is seeing negative economic impacts from tariffs already. China has introduced a national rare earth magnet tracking system, according to sources. This new system requires exporters to list clients and sales volumes. And, this is one of the rare earths, like magnets, that are not able to be, exported to the US or many other countries. Okay, this is one of the big contentious items within this conversation Trump and Xi are going to have. We hold semiconductors away from China, and China holds rare earth materials away from us, and they control 90% of the rare earth market. So, you know, I wouldn't be surprised to see some of these restrictions lighten up, and to see Nvidia's restrictions lighten up as well, for them to be able to do more business in China. U.S. Trade Representative Greer says there is constructive engagements with the EU on trade. And he says that negotiations with the EU are advancing quickly. And he says the meeting in Paris with EU's trade chief, Sefcovic, was very constructive. And Greer says this meeting indicates a willingness by the EU to work with the US to find a concrete way forward to achieve reciprocal trade. The Bank of Canada today, kind of like the Fed or the Jerome Powell of the US, said the Canadian economy is expected to be considerably weaker in Q2 than in Q1, with strength in exports and inventories reversing. Which, as I've pointed out here on this channel many times before, the Canadian and U.S. economies tend to go hand in hand, okay? When there's a rise or fall in unemployment, when we have recessions, the U.S. and Canada tend to go through good and bad times together, mainly because we do a lot of business with Canada, and they are literally like 50 miles away from where I live. I mean, we're very close in proximity. According to a New York Fed survey this morning, most firms pass through to consumers at least some of the tariffs. 3/4 of factory firms, service firms, passed on some amounts of tariffs. And it says that switching to domestic sources may have blunted some of the tariff increase. And the CBO today says the House GOP tax bill will add $2.4 trillion to debt through 2034. And it says that late changes to the House bill ease the debt impact from the previous estimate of $3.8 trillion of an increase. Mexico will have measures next week if no steel deal is reached, according to Scheinbaum. Canada's Prime Minister Carney says trade discussions with the White House are ongoing. U.S. steel and aluminum tariffs are illegal. Mexico's President Scheinbaum says measures will only take place if there is no agreement, and it won't be an eye for an eye. Lutnick says the U.S. is improving CHIPS commitments to more than $300 billion. And Lutnick says that we will set aircraft tariffs by the end of the month. And U.S. House Speaker Johnson reiterates the July 4th tax bill deadline will be met. Also in the news today, Saudis want more supersized OPEC plus hikes in a push for market share. So that's actually, you know, a downward pressure on oil, which is good for the economy, at least consumer perspective. Now, in the news today, Bloomberg posted this article. A fatal Tesla crash shows the limits of full self-driving. Okay. But they didn't put the context in there. This crash occurred in November of 2023 with a Hardware 3 vehicle running on a 2022 version of FSD V11. FSD has improved over 1,000x miles per intervention since, making it incomparable to today's software. Also in the news, 13,000 new Teslas were insured in China last week, the best week of Q2 so far. Still puts us about 16,000 vehicles year to date behind 2024 levels, but getting better. Now, again, to why Tesla's stock is down so much today, largely it probably has to do with this crash on FSD. When the Robotaxi network is launching in just a couple of days on June 12th. Like, that's probably making some people a little nervous, right? Because if you have some kind of fatal crash in a Robotaxi, you're cooked. Like, it's a wrap, okay? It would not be good, okay? But you also had Elon Musk that called out essentially all the Republicans that voted for this tax bill as basically calling them stupid, okay? You mix these two things together, it's not good for Tesla stock. Now, Tesla stock today is down about 3.5%. You do have increased levels of option activity. So far, you have 141 different trades today from hedge funds and institutions, totaling $80.26 million with a positive order value of 76%. Okay, so it is, pretty good. Kind of still a low dollar amount. We'll have to see where things shake out by the end of the day, but definitely a step in the right direction. Yesterday, you had about 750,000 shares that were covered on. Today, you have 112,000 shares that are being covered on. So hedge funds and institutions seem to be net covering, even though the stock is falling, which is a good sign heading into June 12th. Tesla's short interest of free float sits at 3.04%. with $29.34 billion sold short in Tesla, totaling 85.23 million shares. Again, as I've talked about before on this channel, that 330, 333 level seems to be a lot of support. It seems like a lot of buyers have been stepping in at that range. It's pretty much where you bounced on February 11th, February 12th, and then you came down, you bounced a little bit here February 24th, and then you really started to sell off below that level. Seems like there's a lot of demand right here, and that's precisely where we are right now, almost exactly at $333 per share. So we want to see if this holds. I think once the context of the crash from 2023 is kind of known by markets, then we're going to get a recovery in Tesla, probably even tomorrow. Like, this is an overreaction, to say the least, based on the crash we had in 2023. In context to the Robo taxi, like, a fatal crash is never good. That's always bad. But does it really have any implication for Robo taxi? Not really. So let me know your thoughts on all of this down below in the comment section. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.